Hello. Good morning, evening, afternoon, etc., etc. I hope everyone is having a pleasant Wednesday. We're on Wednesday? We're definitely on Wednesday today. Fair amount to do today. I'm hoping today will be the last day for now on the asset pipeline, because it'd be nice to do something graphical again. And yeah, it's kind of been going on for a little bit now, but we'll definitely get there. Aaron, Julian, Emery, all the usuals. Nice to see you coming in. Nice to see you here. Yeah, so I've been having a little bit of think about what we did last stream. I'm pretty pleased where we got to. I think we're reasonably close to getting this wrapped off now. We just need to need to finish building out the tool that packs all the data, and we need to extend that for the vertex data. Then we just need to integrate that into the game, slap in some CMake, jobs are good, and we'll be done in 2 hours, I'm sure. And then Sunday we can look at doing something a bit different, but we'll see. Quacko, Daggers, glad you're here. Someone asked if today's going to have a massive amount of metaprogramming. I think we can assume that every stream has the potential for a massive amount of metaprogramming, but I cannot guarantee whether this stream will be that stream or whether it'll be another stream. But there's always the potential for metaprogramming. I will use templates with reckless abandon. Someone's some feedback from the previous one. In your resource packer, you call SPI info. SPI load will set the width, height, and number of channels as you pass these right reference. Okay, that's good. I thought you had to pass in an initial value, then it set it, but that's fine. We can go through and check all that. I want to rewrite some of that anyway. And yeah, some comments on the decal type debacle that we had. Yeah, it's where the decal type of a function doesn't return it doesn't decay into a function pointer. It gives you the actual signature of the function, which was the issue that we had. Yes, okay, it indicates preference. Fine, we can go through because it's always nice to type up some code. So let me get some code up with my fancy transition, and I'll say that every time until we're all bored of it. But yeah, thanks, Signix Proto. Thanks for the feedback. It's great that people are kind of watching this on catch up. I never really know. I don't look too much at the analytics of the previous streams. I kind of, some people dip in and out of them, and that's absolutely fine. But it's kind of good to know that some people are getting some value out of this. So I've been thinking a lot about the mapped file, like quite well. I say a lot, a fair amount. So this was kind of, we had some inefficiency in reading sort of medium to largish files, which would only get worse the larger the files get. I think that's partly down to my weird setup in that I'm doing a lot of this through WSL, but then I launched the program in native Windows land, and it's probably got to go through whatever the weird WSL file system is, yada yada yada. So we ended up mapping the files, which made things a lot faster, which was great. We kind of left it here with the ability to kind of map in a file, get it as a string or as data. I've been thinking a bit about this. Up for debate, I think this file is now incorrectly named. I think this should just be called file. To me, mapped file leaks implementation detail. A consumer, not that we're writing an engine, but if someone were to use this code, like, do they care that it's mapped in? Like, it's kind of irrelevant. You would use the class in exactly the same way. So in terms of good API design, I think the first thing we'll probably do is just rename this to file. And then I want to extend, so I had this other thought as well that the tool, where is it? Here, we could probably map in another file, have the ability to write, and then just write out the data to it. Again, that might be faster packing the data because we're not having to go through all the buffer stream stuff. So I think first things first, tiny little bit of housekeeping. We'll tidy up the mapped file, rename it file, add the ability to write. We'll redo this so it's hopefully faster to write. So then we should end up with where we started, and then we'll just keep chipping away at all the little bits and pieces until we get there. I think there was some suggestion that we can drop this, so we'll try that as well. But I don't want to try dropping too much at once, if that makes sense. Also, this potentially as well could we don't know how this is going to read off the file system, so we might want to revert back to what we had before, where we were reading in to the program first and then using the STBI load from memory, and we could use our mapped file for that. So there's a few little tweaks we can do this. I don't want to get too bogged down on like hyper optimizing this. I just want to get it kind of working for us. Yeah, so I mean, it's a good point on YouTube. Like file would suggest that there is then more stuff like size and permissions and stuff. I think I'm going to use file as again, my purpose is only write the code that we need, and we need a file class, but we don't need all those methods yet, but we can kind of add those later if we needed. Yeah, and I'm not too fussed about being super generic, but I don't like mapped file. I think in terms of like, I'm not saying I lost any sleep over it, but I was thinking quite a lot about it, and I was like, this feels like the wrong name. So I guess we can start off with sorting that out. So where am I? We must sort out all these files as well at some point. I really don't like the fact they're all bunged in one directory, but it doesn't stop us doing work now. Hold on, Shift R, and then file, and then mapped file, Shift R, bring it across, call that file. Okay, right. Happy with that. That was easy. And then we're going to need to go to the CMake. I rebooted my machine just before the stream, so I can't remember if I've got the font size set up, the mic set up, so if anything seems off, it's my fault. Just let me know. Definitely didn't want that. Okay, so mapped file goes away, and we can put it there. Do something like that. And then do CMake build. Yes, that would make sense. So now there's going to be a whole host of places that don't, that include mapped file. Mapped file. Mapped file. Mapped file, and then %s mapped file becomes file everywhere. That's right, and then sf file. We will run that. And then SS mapped SG mapped file. We've got it here. That was easy. And then SG mapped file DF. Okay. See if that blends. Thank you, Signix, for the subscription. Much appreciated. Very kind of you. New, I'll probably mention this again later, but new video on the channel tomorrow. Big video. A lot of work went into it. I'm pretty excited. I was going to release it tonight, but one, I'm streaming, and two, I don't like the thumbnail, so I need to spend a bit of time, like tomorrow evening, tweaking that. Yeah, that should be exciting. Cool, okay, that blends. So let's see. Let's probably commit some of this up. I'm trying to be a little bit better with the committing. Oh my goodness, all this shite. Okay, so this is commit, rename map file to file. Nailed it. Okay, so now I think we want to extend this to be able to read. So let's open up the implementation. So the implementation, that is not the implementation. Oh, of course, it's because it's called file now, isn't it? Let's update that. Okay, right. So we've got file. I don't know why. Can this stop being a little bit rubbish? Why is there you go. Right, okay. Okay, so in the file implementation, we create a file which gives us a handle, which is an operating system primitive, blah, 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 opaque handle, blah, 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 mapping to some sort of kernel thing. We create a file mapping, which then signals to the OS that we need to map this into memory, and then we create a map view of the file which gives us a raw pointer back to somewhere in memory where that file is mapped into, and then anything we do on that is kind of, in theory, persisted back to the file. Now, we need to change this to, I think it's read write or all access or something like that. But this, as it's set up, allows us to read and write the file. But we only have APIs for reading, which is kind of what we want, right? Because you see here, look, we literally just get that pointer and then we reinterpret cast it. We just slap it into a span or a string view based on the size. I want to add another method which allows us to write either a string view or a span back to it. And then that should kind of, in theory, just work. Like, there's going to be a lot of nuance to this. Like, what do you do about, like, subsequent writes? Do you have seeking? Do you have truncation? I'm just literally going to be like, I'm going to write that data from the start of that pointer to the end. If there's nothing in it, like, you're kind of out of luck. I'm going to keep it simple, and we'll figure out the errors as we go along. That's kind of my plan. Not writing a robust, as someone correctly mentioned, like, we are not writing a robust file class here, so we can kind of play a little bit whilst trying to create a sane and safe API. We can play a little bit fast and loose, you know, with the design of it. So this should be file map all access. Sounds good. And then auto write stood string view data void. So I'm making a very deliberate choice here. Someone's upsetting the Twitch chatbot. So Nightbot, which apparently is like the chatbot everyone uses, you can either have it on Twitch or on YouTube. And don't take that as an offense that I don't trust you. It was just, I installed it on Twitch first. And I was like, oh, now I installed it on YouTube. And like, oh, you can only have it on one unless I'm doing something wrong. So I guess YouTube behave until I figure out how to do it. So there's this method here could potentially be const because it's not going to mutate any of the members. I mean, technically we might want to update size, but regardless, in theory, we might be able to make this const because we're just using, like, effectively just, these are all just like numbers. I'm going to deliberately make it not const because in my mind, having a const file is your way of signaling that you want it to be read-only, so we can kind of get read-only files or read-write files by just using const. So if you just don't want someone to write to the file, you just don't give them a mutable file object. That's kind of my plan. No const ref. Oh, I've just got sidetracked by writing this. I've not. Right. So I think that's what we want. Right, and so in theory, we should be able to do std mem copy into map view.get data.size. And that should be all we need to do to write to the file, because you just write to the pointer, then something kernel, something in Windows handles it. I think you might need to flush it though. Let me just double check that, because again, it might sit in like a kernel cache or something like that before it actually gets persisted to the disk. So let's just check. I think there's like I think that's it. Flush viewer file. Yeah. Yeah. Flush viewer file. Map view dot. You give it the pointer and the size. What does that return? The function succeeds. The return value is not if that equals 0. Oh, actually, no. What am I doing? Ensure doesn't equal 0. Failed to flush file. I've got error. Okay, fine. Yeah, we're going to reread. Well, I'm not going to reread it, but I will update the. Well, we will update the size. No, I don't need. I don't. What? So, a couple of questions. So, what would I consider this code to be under if it was under a license? So this is currently. I'm not a lawyer, but this is currently unlicensed, as in like I retain all the intellectual property for it. If you are copying along for it, I don't care because this isn't published anywhere. Like you can clip this and say that you are free to copy this as much as you want. If I do release it, I'll probably release it under the Boost license because I feel that's kind of one of the better open source ones because I like the caveat in it around like when you compile it to a machine representable format and the licensing around that. But yeah, I like. For you, if you copy this like almost verbatim, that's literally fine. That's the whole point of this. And the other question is like no operator handle overloading for map view. You'll have to clarify what you mean by map view because I don't know. Do you mean string view or do you mean span or do you mean the file class itself? But yeah, feel free to use as much of this as you want. The whole point of this is to be educational. I will probably. I'm kind of thinking I might release some of this just at some point, but I'm not sure when or what form that will be. Okay, and then this is literally just the same. To be fair, it could almost be a template that. Let me just have a think about it. So template class T auto write wants T data void and then include ranges, and then we could do something like stud mem copy. Is there stud ranges data of data? Hang on, getting ahead of myself. Map view dot get. Oh, you're talking about. Sorry, you're talking about map view. Map view is a unique pointer, so .get is the way of getting the pointer out of it. You can use operator overloading, like the operator star, but that will dereference the object and give you back a reference to the thing you're pointing to. So .get is kind of the way of getting the raw pointer out of it. Well, I'm hoping we don't have to call the span from the bright one, but yes, that would be better, possibly. Yeah, map view is just a void pointer. So this means anything which exposes a dot data and a dot size method, right, which is both string view and span, we can mem copy from that. We could probably just wonder if we can constrain that a little better. It'd be nice to be like, we could just say this has to be contiguous, but I think you can only do that on the iterator, and that just sounds like a lot of typing. But I mean, this will work, because I don't think you can get a data method to anything that's not contiguous, I think, because that wouldn't make sense. So I think we might be all right with that. Feel free to check my workings as I go along. But now, so now actually all this boilerplate disappears. There we go, got some templates in, we hope. I mean, we are now taking it by constant reference, which isn't bad, because this basically means we could also pass in a vector, right? And we could write a vector out, so it doesn't really matter. Anything which is a contiguous range of things, we could write to the file. I guess we might want to constrain that on it being a byte type. How do you get the type out of this range? I might be just wasting time now, but this is kind of interesting. Is it range? Value t. So can we require size of std range value t equals 1? Range value type t, range value type t. Yeah, range. Thank you. Requires. And it's not range. See, I've got range value on. What am I doing wrong? In header. Templated range using range type t equals, sorry, range value t used to obtain the value type of the, oh, that's the iterator type. You're right. So I want ranges, I think someone said it, value type t. That doesn't seem to exist in here. I'm sure it's range value. Yeah, sorry. What am I missing? Stood ranges, range value t. Oh, is it stood ranges? For trading. There you go, nailed it. Okay, fine. So now we will only write things that are like byte-like, which would be a char or a byte or an unsigned char or a signed char, which are 3 distinct types, obviously, because the language is weird. Okay, I think at this point I'm kind of putting lipstick on a pig. I think we've gotten about as far as we need to on that. And also we've not actually instantiated the template yet, so we have no idea if this is going to work. Let's go back to the main. What is going on? Tool. Where does it think I am? We got the source main, and then There you go. That was weird. Right, okay. So now hash include file. Oh, actually, we're not call. No, we actually. I'll tell you what. We're going to have another issue here. In that, this will only work for existing files. So, what's the? Is there a way of? I think it's open always. Which again, it might not be great design, like because. I want to know if a file's not there if I'm only going to be reading from it. Well, no, sorry. Sometimes I want to know if the file is there. Sometimes I always want to open it. So what does Windows call it? Creation disposition. I don't like that. Creation mode. Let's do open or create. And then we can do creation mode equals creation mode open. That should be the default. We shouldn't be just randomly creating files unless we've explicitly opted into it. And also that means all the existing code we've got will still continue to work. And then creation mode. And then we can just do here mode equals creation mode open existing, else open always, right? And then this here will return an invalid handle if it doesn't manage to open. So this will catch both error cases in that we've asked to open it and it doesn't exist, or we've asked to open and create it and we couldn't create it. So that should be fine. Okay, let's go back to where we were. So now we can do game file out argv2 game creation mode create. That will not be const. The Alexa's going off. And actually, that should now just be able to do outright resource data, which is nice because this is a vector. Because we've got the templates, that just works. We don't have to coerce it into a span. So +1 for templates, I guess. So let's do tools, resource packer, and then we want to get the assets file and then stick that in resources. Yeah, I've changed to, I'm trying to fish the shell, but it doesn't work. It really doesn't, like, in the sort of half hour I had to play around with it before the stream started. It doesn't like my weird combination of NeoVim, Tmux, and MSVC wine. So this is still just bash, but this here, I'm playing around with fish for a bit to see if I like it. failed to map file. Get last error. And tools, resource packer.exe, assets, resource. Evening. That's even worse. How are we doing? Cannot convert. Is this? Oh, this is the one where it's I've not finished template. That is some template meta programming we need to do. Is to module that in there at some point. Yes, you're right. I don't. I forget that every time. Win error code 106. 1006. Error 106. Just tell me what the... Oh yeah, system error codes. 106. File invalid. The volume profile has been externally altered so that the volume profile has been externally altered so that the opened file is no longer valid. What? Did it actually create the file? It did create it. So I'm literally going to spend almost zero time on this. If it doesn't work, we'll just use the old way. It's not the end of the world because I really want to get on to integrating this. But unless people think it's interesting to dig into this, but I strongly suspect it's an issue with my setup. So it's created a 0-byte file. It's got normal attributes, and then it's failed to create file mapping A. Yeah, it's going to be something to do with create file mapping A. It's because it would have been. I bet it's because it's written by a Windows program. It's written from created from Windows Land, but then does this work? I wonder if I create the file first. And then try and write to it. Yeah, I've got to get last error. It was not particularly illuminating. Yeah, it's 106. So what's WSL mapped file 106? Has anyone had this problem? Okay, fine. Look, I'm not too fussed about that. Like, it's annoying, but I think that's probably a problem for another day because we can just go back to what we had before, which is this. this just takes a while, but I think, again, that's just partly because of my setup. While that's running, we can keep figuring out what we're going to do. Okay. If we have time at the end, we might revisit this. So let's just... add right functionality. I say add it. Add it. It's not working, but at least it's kind of committed and out of the way. Okay, so let's go back to main, because I want to finish integrating this for all the textures. So I was thinking about this as well. So what our process for creating a texture now is slightly different. We have a texture description, and inside that we get the width, the height, the format, and then the data. And that's fine, because we can pull out from our TLV reader, which is the thing we use to read our custom binary format. We can search through all the entries in there. We're like, hey, is this a texture, for this thing? And then we can pull out the description. This now is a little bit gross because it means we can't do it in line. So this is the old way, which is still reading the files from the resource loader. It's like, just load this file. Whereas now we need to loop through, pull out the thing. I want to kind of wrap that up a little bit better. I think the best way of doing this is to construct a texture from a TLV reader and then a name, and be like, the data is in here somewhere, like, you go and find it. It's a little bit of coupling, because it kind of couples the texture class now to this TLV reader, but the only other thing I do is I'd pull this out into a helper function, and I can't really see, effectively like a factory method, and I don't really see the difference at that point. So again, it's our code, and we can do what we want to. Let's go TLV reader and --include string view. Another constructor to this, which might end up superseding this 45 one anyway. But we can do texture const TLV reader stood string view name. I did mean that, you're correct. So now we can go to texture. I've got some weird Vim swap files knocking around somewhere, it's a little bit annoying. It was below the description one. So put this here. Texture like that. Not like that, but maybe like that. Down. Put those at the end. Okay, so if we go back to main, we can basically now lift this code out, because we've got we've got a reference to the reader. Oh, can it be const? Yeah, it can be const. Yeah, sorry, ignore me. So now we just copy this over here. Bring in an optional. And then have whatever equals don't need the game, right? If that's that, then we should be able to do, well, actually, yeah, I know I've not checked it. Give me a second. Right. Okay, right, so now we can do this, and then we should be able to just do, if we initialize our handle, what is going on? Right, take that. What is going on? Right. There we go. Right. Take that. And then we can just do stirred ranges swap. A little bit gross, but I haven't written a proper swap method for texture yet, and it would largely just do this anyway, so I'm kind of happy to do this. So we pull out the texture, we search for the texture, that needs to be name. If we find it, then we break out, and then we basically, I think we can do this. Can we do this with, do we even need the optional? Can we just do this with ranges? Stirred ranges, find, name const auto e return e dot is texture name, right? And then ensure desc does not equal stirred ranges the end of hang on a minute. Reader could missing texture, could not find texture. I really need to add the formatting for that, because then we could have easily appended the name on it and be like, oh, you couldn't find this. It's just a little bit easier. Get rid of all this, get rid of all this, get rid of all this. Why is it not like that? Let's ask the compiler. Unless anyone else can see it. Oh my goodness. Blur. What is all this? Jesus Christ. The answer's in there somewhere. All right. Missing return type after that. TLV entry 35. TLV entry H missing return type. I've got, right, that means I've got an error in this header because it cannot, it's basically saying it cannot find this texture format type, and it can only not find it if the header file is malformed. So let's just fix that. Oh, have I got a circular include? I've got a circular include. That's fine, that's even easier to fix. Right, hopefully that will give us slightly nice, basically, sorry, that was texture.h was including entry.h, which was then including texture.h, and C++ doesn't really like that. Okay, slightly better errors now that we're not like basically spinning indefinitely. The range was not called object of class, find no matching call operator found. Could even be this. I don't know what that is, but it could be it. desktop object, it must be initialized. Yeah, that's fine. That is just a follow-on chuff from the fact that I've not created this object correctly. Oh, hang on. Is it because find searches by value and I actually need find if? Is it find if that takes the predicate? Yeah, find takes a value, whereas what I find that, like, ranges is great. I really like ranges, but this is so hard to read. Like, at a glance, you're like, what is going on? Here you go. Find if takes a range and a predicate, and that predicate I've given it here, right? Is what does it not like about that? Oh, I won't like that because I've not implemented the const ones. That's fine. Literally has a begin and an end. Oh, I forgot we used deducing this. Computer, come on, give me something useful. Give me something useful. Object class found if no call operator found. Could be ranges find if operator, iterator, sentinel, predicate, projection. Expects 4 arguments to provided. So if I do stood ranges begin reader stood ranges end reader. Again, I don't want to see, this is the kind of problem I'd literally spend an hour on until I got to the bottom of it, because it's broken my understanding of what I'm doing. It's not like, I don't know, I'm not driving Windows under WSL correctly. This is like I've got an assumption about C++ which is wrong. Let's just strip stuff off until we get there. Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of is the const. Right, let's just, what we'll do is we'll just slowly start stripping stuff out until it works, and then we'll figure out where the error is. So if that's true. So it's not the it's not the lambda. Cannot convert into whoa, what's going on here? Oh no, that's chuff. I don't care about that. That's all because of this line here. No matching call operator found to stood ranges begin CPO. Is that the customization point? Note the associated constraints were not satisfied. So the question is, why can I not do, can I do stood begin? Oh, is it because I've is it because I've not included it? Oh, absolutely Absolute joke if that's the case. No, it's that was the problem with that, I think, because it's now failing on 92. Okay, so I'll tell you what the problem with that was. This is why you always include what you use in a specific file. I had include TLV reader in the header file, which is then becomes a transitive include for this file because I was including texture.h, the header file, which then included this. We had a circular reference, which I broke using something called forward referencing, or forward declaring. So I basically said, right, hey compiler and linker, well, hey compiler, at some point there will be a class that's called this. Don't worry about it now. You don't have to know what it looks like because you're only going to take it by a reference. Don't you worry about it. The linker will fix that for you. So I then dropped the include, which then broke the circular dependency, back into the CPU file. I now no longer had access to this, to the definition of TLV reader. So when it's like, oh, std ranges begin or std begin of reader, I don't know what that is. And that is one of the most egregious error messages in terms with respect to what the actual error was. It could have just said somewhere, I don't know what a reader is, can you please define it? But it's like, no. Somewhere deep in the bowels of all this template code you've called, I don't know what it is. So I'm kind of a little bit upset. I'm not going to lie. Sorry, that's now. Anyway, I hope that makes sense. That's the joys of C++. Right. Right, okay. No matching constructor for... Why does it not like... Oh, no, wait a minute. I need to do... Desk dot... texture description value. Compile after. I don't think compiling after every line changed would have helped because this was effectively a one line. Even if we did this as a one line change, I still would not have had. Would have compiled after removing the header file and be like, okay, well you're not using it. That's fine. Yeah, maybe if I'd written this, the only way that would have worked. I think you're kind of joking, but the only way that would have worked as if before I'd broken the circular dependency, I'd already written this and be like, oh, this no longer works when I remove the header file. Anyway, what a joke. Put down for my day now. Well, that works. Well, compiles. Okay, right. So now we can get rid of all this chuff and we can go back to. I want the reader. Don't want this. Don't want this. Don't want this. Don't want this, don't want this. Don't want this, don't want this, don't want this. What I do want is const auto barrel. What do we actually call it? Or do we not use it till later on? Oh, well, I've gone through and deleted all my code now and I don't know what I'm doing. Where was text desk used? Oh, here, albedo texture. Here we go. So albedo equals. Oh, here we go. So this now becomes reader barrels drums albedo. Yes, that's how I choose to pronounce that. No, I want the reader. Don't want this, 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 don't want this. Right, see if that blends. Was a good teaching opportunity. I'm glad we could all experience that misery together. And that's really what C++ is all about. It's about bringing people together in some sort of unified and joint suffering. Okay, right, so that still works. Still abadoing. Still getting me mid-lights. Right, okay, cool. Happy with that. So now we should just be able to replace these with that and that with this, and then we'll be good to go. So let's do auto spec map equals game texture reader barrels drums metalness dot metalness and FSC to normal. This is going to be so much nicer when this is all done. Like, I think it'll be worth the kind of misery that we went through. Eventually we'll want to pack these like shaders into the thing as well, but I'm not too fussed about that because that's not the slow part. The slow part is loading the meshes and the models and stuff. So which one do I want? I want... Don't look too hard at those. That history there, that had some stuff in from tomorrow's video. There is no fun in comfort. How profound. Do you need the double colon to access the global namespace? Do you have some using namespace something in the top? Nope, you do not need the double colon to access the global namespace. There are two reasons to do it, or two reasons I choose to do it. One, it instantly invokes the autocomplete, which is nice. And the other one is it is a... Oh, I'm running the resource thing again, aren't I? Oh, can't quit that. I'll talk. Oh, let me talk while this is going on. When you see it, which you won't be in here, that's where would it be? Main. This here I use as like a visual representation to myself that this is code I didn't write. So if I'm accessing anything via : that at a glance I'm like, okay, that's a third party or a platform function or something I didn't write. So that's why I do that. It's more just personal preference. There's absolutely no need to do it. The only time you need to do it is when you need to disambiguate between symbols. So if you have, say you have a file class on POSIX, for example, and you've written that class has a write member, and you want to call that from one of the other class members, and you've already included unisted.h, funcontool.h, whatever which one it is, there will then be a free function called write, and then it will, I believe the language will prefer the class one over the free one, so then you would use double colon to disambiguate that. Well, I really wish to kill my terminal. Guess we'll just wait for that and just talk some more. Well, this seems to work, so let's comment up some of this. So what do we have? We had load textures from resource. Actually, we're not quite done with that yet, because isn't there like all this stuff as well? So what does CubeMap take? CubeMap takes a vector byte. What's going to be the easiest way of, is there going to be an easy way of doing this? I bet it's going to be very similar thing. CubeMap const TLB reader consted vector of, maybe Acrobat, what do you want this off? The string vector string views? Is that what I want? I don't actually like that because I know I need, I think I'm just going to explicitly do right, left, top, bottom, etc., etc., because I just I can't bother with the error handling. Right. Nested string view left name. Right, left. What were they called? Right, left, top, bottom, front, back. Right, left, top, bottom, front, back. Right, left, top, bottom, front, back. Forgotten all the commas, haven't I? That's exciting. Stirred uint 32 width, stirred uint 32t height. Nailed it. Okay. Okay, so that's uncrapped itself, which is exciting. Cube map. It feels like ages ago since we did cube map. And that was on a whim, wasn't it? We were like, I got a bit of time left. I'm sure I can bash out a cube map in like half an hour. I'm gonna probably actually include the TLV reader this time, just to save ourselves the hassle of having that horrific error message. Let's see, what did I do with texture? I ranged it up, didn't I? Oh, I could have done a fixed sized array of string views, and then I might have been able to iterate over them. Would that be better? Would that be better? What do I have to do with them? Because I do have to... I think that would be better. So again, a lot of this I just sort of figure out as I go along. There is no master plan. There is only try and finish off this asset packing stuff so we can get on something else. Stirred array, stirred string view, 6. Image names. Five streams ago, man. Well, what time? What have I? Oh, hang on. I've seen it. I've seen the issue. Okay, so let's do. Let's bring in some ranges because oh no, I've already got it. Right. Const auto. I feel like I want to transform them. I feel like I want to turn those image names into textures. No. Into texture descriptions. So desks equals image names stirred views transform reader const auto e and then inside here we're gonna do const auto desk equals reader. Oh, hang on, because I got to iterate through the reader. Oh, yeah, this might not be as easy as I thought, because I've effectively got two ranges, so I need to merge those. It might be one of those few situations where it's easier to do with a loop. Well, I guess I could just copy what I did in the other one. So stood ranges find if. Yeah, zip. I don't know if zip would work. Because you'd have to. Would zip work? Zip won't work. Zip won't work because there could be more elements in the reader than there are string views. Because there's only ever going to be 6 elements in image names, right? And reader could have 1,000 elements into it. What you need almost is a projection. Because even if you just filtered it down to the images, there might be more in there. Anyway, let's just try. I'm out of. I already hate that. Do not mention it. And then ensure desk doesn't equal stood ranges end reader find image return reader sorry desk texture description value. Well, that is absolutely gross. The stood ranges contained, so array has it by that. So yeah, I see what you mean. You could, but I don't know if contains take a. I think contains is just by value rather than, or checks for a value rather than for a predicate, because you have to call is texture on something. I've just not gotten like I know. The question is like, why bother with width and height if you don't use it? I've just not gotten to using it yet. Like we will get there. Yeah, ranges takes a checks by value. Oh, does that have sub range? Do as before and replace the name with array contains. I'm not at all sure. Let me have a think. So what am I trying to solve other than like a mess of my own doing? I want to take a fixed collection of image names, and I want to pull the associated text description of each of those out of the reader. I just want to use ranges where I can because I just really like ranges, and these are kind of interesting. Like, I find you can get better at ranges by trying to solve problems like this because it forces you to kind of think about it in that kind of mindset, that mind space. Right. So I'm pretty sure I want to transform because I want to take a collection of 6 things and produce 6 things. The question is, how do I get the description out? I'm surprised. I'm really kind of. I mean, I know the formatting is grim, but I'm kind of surprised. It's like what's it complaining at? It was unexpected here. Have I? Oh, hang on. Have I just failed to like perform basic C++ grammar? Oh, there you go. Fine, nailed it. That's gross. Come back to that later. There's a missing round bracket, I think. Okay, so desks is now. Oh, actually, hang on. Let's. And then we can basically take this. Here we go. And go through desks. And then. Oh, actually, someone made a good point earlier. Like, we're not using width and height. We're going to pass width and height in the description. I guess we should probably check that they are all the same. I'll come back to that in a minute. Don't need this. Don't need this. Don't need this. We literally now just need this. All right. Try and stop using the mouse. Right. Oh, I don't. Alright, okay. 3, control down, go down, go up, go down, go up. Right. Okay. And then this should be desk dot data. Well, I know the width and height prior to loading these assets. That's a good point. You're right. You know what? You're right. I kind of just assumed I do at the moment, but that's only because there is guilty knowledge there. The whole point of this is to try and capture this. What I suspect we should probably do is, as part of the asset packer, have a cube map option, which checks all the images of the right height and size and everything. But for this, for now, like we can just do desktop width and desktop height. Oh my goodness, what have I? What's going on here? Oh. That'll be why. But I do. This is gross. I don't like this, but I do have to know the width and height here. Let me. Where's like. No, I don't need. Looking at what we had before, you create the texture as a cube map, which automatically allocates the right space for it for all the textures, and then you just sub image each face into it. I'm just trying to think. Can I? Hang on. Right. Okay. What I think I can do is get that and then do. Hang on. This ensure stood ranges all of, right, bear with me, desks pipe to stood views transform const auto element return stood make tuple e dot width e dot height, right, and then stood make tuple width height, all width and height need to be the same. So what I've basically male tuple is indeed not a thing. So what I've done here is I've basically said all of checks that. What have I done? Oh, because this should be a lambda. Okay, all of checks that every single element in a range is true. This, sorry, is equal. Right, am I doing this right? No, that's not quite right. I want to do. I want to check everything in the range is equal. Do I need another transform? I think you can probably see what I'm trying to do. So that will convert everything to a range, and then I want to do the transform of that, right? Right, now we're getting somewhere. Now we're getting somewhere. Just to transform width, height, const auto e return e equals std make tuple width height. Drop that. To the views transform. So I'm line 76 needs another before the comma. Line 76 needs another. So what I want is I want to take all these descriptions, I want to convert them all into a tuple of just the width and the height, and then I want to then convert all those into a boolean of whether they match the first width or height. Technically we could use ranges to skip the first one, but I'm like, let's just get this working first. And then all of will return true or false if every member is, will return true if every member in that range is true. Oh, wait a minute. I'm just looking at the, I think actually I might have had this slightly wrong. All of takes the predicate. So this, that's fine. So this becomes like that. So this is the range, and then the predicate will be each element in this. Yeah, I think that's a transform first, then do the all of a predicate. That's what I'm trying to do now, right? But I can do it in line. Too many of these. There we go. There we go. And then I guess if we're being super fancy, we can drop the first one because we know it's the width and the height because we've already got that. And now we can use the width and the height where we want with reckless abandon. Data. Oh, we're going to need the old data.data. Right. Hopefully that makes sense. That was a little bit of a, that's kind of how I, oh, fuck's sake, sorry. Oh, is it because it's in main now? This won't like this. You've got to save those last ints. Do you know what I mean? I've really lost the plot a little bit. Right. Let's see if we can macro this up. So QA dt Didn't quite do what I wanted to do, but this is easy to fix. Right. Oh, do I need something double brackets? I thought they fixed that. It might not be able to cast those to string view. We'll see. It is a little bit cursed, but hopefully a little bit fun as well. I thought I updated the cubemap H file. Oh yes, you're right. I don't need the. Well done. Good spot. I'm glad someone's paying attention. Thank you. I'm one of the few people streaming game dev with C++ using modern features. Like, what's everyone else using? It's like this is the fun bit for me because it's my own code and I get like free range to do what I want, and obviously I want to use all the new toys. That's not bad. I'm quite pleased with that. I think that kind of. I mean, well, let's just check it works first. Yeah. Boom. Where did I put that? I don't know. C has its place. It's a good, it's a good language. I think C is a great place to learn about low-level details about dynamic memory allocation and pointers and references and all the things that could go wrong without all the chuff and misery that goes around with C++. Like, if you want to learn low-level stuff, I think C is actually probably a reasonably good starting point. For me personally, I'm not doing any large projects in it. Obviously, did some debugging here before. Okay. Where's the... Which one's... Oh, Christ, which one's which? This is the format. This is the usage. Const auto... Hang on, if I already got it here. Let's space GL enum, I guess. To OpenGL game texture usage. Alright, and then we can do usage. Switch usage using enum game texture usage, and then case I can't remember what they are now. Frame buffer depth. Oh, is this because why have I... It's because the others are special cases for other things, that's fine. You know what? I don't even know why I'm doing this. Let's just take that. Put that there. Default. Throw game exception unknown usage. Do I take num channel? Oh no, I have texture. Oh right, okay, fine. So this now needs to be game texture format, and then this will be format equals. Might as well treat ourselves and use both of them. Right. Right, so if format, so I want to return format equals RGBA, and then return format F4 equals RGBA. Right, okay. And then here, so this goes away as well. This is 2. Oh no, wait a minute. No, it doesn't, because I don't have. That's the wrong code, isn't it? Let's just do it down here. That constructor, I imagine, is going to go away at some point. Or do I need it? It'll be. Where's the texture description one? Here we go. Oh, yeah, right. Delete that, and then here we go. 2 OpenGL description dot usage description dot format, and then here will be description dot format equals texture format RGBA GL RGBA else GL RGB. Ooh. And that will 100 when we introduce, if we ever introduce single channel textures, that will 100% break, and it will be really fun to debug. So we've got that to look forward to. Okay. Oh, loads of messages. Sorry, let me have a look. Is it easy to debug on C++? I think it really depends on the domain. Like, debugging is the sort of function of the language, the output format, and the problem you're trying to solve. So it's kind of hard to say specifically. I mean, C++ doesn't necessarily make it easy. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'll fix that main. Thanks in a second. Yeah, I mean, C++, like, it's a tool. It's a great point. Like, it's a tool. It's there to solve a problem. It's like having a go at Hammer, because, you know, if you're using it wrong, you know, because, you know, you couldn't use the hammer to tighten your pipes. You know, it's, you know, there are certain problems that C++ is kind of better at solving than other languages, and, you know, it's all kind of right tool for the right job, that kind of thing. People who kind of are anti C++, I don't know, like, you know, I'm not really interested in, like, I wouldn't like badmouth specific people. Like, you know, there are people out there working hard, writing code, delivering games, adding value, so that's absolutely fine, and they will probably have a lot of experience in languages, and there is a lot to not like about C++, and I do get it. I enjoy it as a language. I enjoy programming in it, I enjoy teaching it, I enjoy talking about it, so for me it's still a viable option. The future is a little bit weird with the language at the moment, but, you know, there's still some use out of it. Yeah, the sort of process hacking toolkit, I've kind of put a pin in that because I got about as much as I wanted to do out of it, and I wanted to move on to something else, so that's why we're here now. Sorry, did someone say there was, evening Sam, did someone say there was an issue in main? I think it was Queco. Need to fix cube app names in main CP. Don't need the file extensions. You're correct. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly human nature to a certain extent to kind of, hoard and be protective of the knowledge that you've hard fought for. If you spent 20 years learning a language, then yeah, you understandably probably going to be quite, you could very well be an evangelist for it, or you could really much hate it. Have I missed all these as well? Thanks. I think, like, if you have some level of influence over people, I think you do need to be careful what you say, because you could turn people off entire career paths or opportunities by just saying that X is bad. Do you know what I mean? And even if your reasons for that are true, you should. There's a certain level of especially with technology, of letting people have forming their own opinions and having to play around with it. Like, go and write some C++ and figure out what's good about it and what's not good about it. Form that opinion yourself. Anyway, I digress. I have lots of thoughts on this, but not here to kind of belittle or badmouth other people. I'm sure that gets views, but it's not really my thing. Right, cool. I'm pretty happy with this now. So this is... Let's just... So the question is, people probably only use less than 10% of the language, though. Thoughts? Question mark. C++ is massive. It's huge. It has so much stuff, and also sometimes it also feels like it doesn't have a lot of stuff. But it's pretty broad and pretty deep. It kind of really depends on what you're doing. I think I wouldn't like to generalize saying most people do or don't do X, because I think it really varies on the industry you're in and what you're doing. A lot of people might not ever even have to touch like the memory model and the memory ordering and like the low level atomics and all that sort of stuff. Does that mean that's good or bad, or like that's a reason to or not use the language? Like, it's there to be used. I think my view of C++ is that it is it's a toy box full of Lego bricks, right? And those can be assembled to build whatever solution you need. You can make something really cool, you can make an absolute mess out of it, but really it's just giving you primitives that you can build together to make your own abstractions and solve your own problems. And it's quite, for the most part, quite unopinionated on how you do that, for better or worse, because there's little guidance in it. But anyway, that's kind of my thoughts on it. Right, I think we're actually not too far away from what I wanted to get done now. So the last thing to do now is the mesh loading. So let's have a look at where we load the meshes. We have this. So the mesh comes from the mesh loader. I think, yeah, there is inertia to upgrading C++ and keeping up with the bleeding edge, because things change and it's easy to sort of pick a compiler version and a standard. I think that is unfortunate and not necessarily short-sighted, but the longer you leave it, the higher the cost is to upgrade. So if you can live ahead, like, you should. But again, like, that's kind of ideological. It's not true it's not always true to do. And it's just, people get stuck in their ways and they know how to use a particular version and they don't necessarily want to go through the effort and the potential pain of upgrading. But it's, again, the longer you leave it, the harder it is, and then eventually something will get deprecated and then it'll be out of support, and then there's a mad scrabble to do a massive upgrade. But anyway, I'm hoping part of this is to sort of showcase some of the newer features of C++ to get people kind of interested and excited about them, about the language as well, but also about the newest features, and encourage people to try these out and make use of them. Right, mesh loader. So now we're going to want So my plan now is to basically get this into the TLV, get the program reading from the disk, that barrel image, and sticking it in there, and then doing it. And that's probably where I'm going to leave it. We might not get the full CMake integration done, but we can just run it manually whenever we update resources, and we can add that later. I really don't want to spend too much more time on this, so because I want to get on something new. So I think that's what we're going to try and do now. So I'm just thinking, do we... Yeah, okay, fine. So we're going to want float and vector. Let's just add, I was like, oh, we could just go straight to... Oh, in fact, actually, no, sorry. Okay. Let me, rather than just going yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, let me talk you through my thought process. Texture description is you can think of this as a composite type. That's why I put a new line in here. This is built up of these other types. And in fact, what we do is when we encode this, we actually encode a fresh new TLV for all these elements, and then we can go through and query them and pull out the bits. Vertex data, we could serialize a float, serialize vector3, make vertex data a composite. So each block of vertex data is itself a TLV, and we can go through. That is in line with what we did with texture description. However, the problem with that is that I want to be able to just memcopy literally all the vertex data straight into a buffer. So if it's encoded as a TLV, we would have to walk each vertex. So say you've got 10,000 vertices, I'd have to walk through each one, pull it out of the TLV, copy it, convert it into an array, and it's just a lot of work. So I think what we're going to do is we'll basically have a vertex primitive, and then we will have a, what do I call it? Do I call it mesh? Do I end up with mesh or model? A mesh. And then we'll have a mesh composite, which will be, so a vertex array. And then a mesh will be a string and a vertex array. I think that's the best way of doing it. So we can kind of, again, we're still reusing a lot of what we got, and this will be a separate TLV, but we can literally be like, okay, where's the data for the vertex array? And we can just squirt that straight into the graphics card, basically. A few questions come in, so I'll just go through those. A question related to reverse engineering. Do you think with all the work I've put in, will Ghidra do its magic? On what? What's the target in this? Do you mean this game or another project? I'm not really. I'm sorry. I'm really not unsure what the question is. So it's quite difficult to use a lot of the new C++ stuff as it takes time for the compilers to update, and they all have different parts of the implementation. That's the stack trace, it's in GCC. Yeah, so this is a problem, again, because you don't have a reference implementation. The standard, just like, the language is just like a 2,000-page PDF, and it's like, good luck. And then you have like 3 competing implementations, and they all implement stuff at different rates. If it's language-based, no, sorry, take that back. Let me start again. If it's library-based, you will often find that there is already an implementation that you can use, probably in Boost. MSVC tends to be pretty good at implementing library stuff first as well. So you can normally find like a reference implementation. If it's language-based, which normally means it involves a change to the compiler, most papers will have a proof of concept somewhere. So there'll be like a fork of GCC or Clang which has it, and a lot of those for the big papers actually get incorporated into Godbolt. So you can normally find a way of playing around with them, but yeah, you definitely won't be able to use that in production. So yeah, you kind of have to wait. It's a bit of a waiting game, but it's just the nature of the beast. In relation to the helper functions, yeah, I mean, I have this idea for a video after we kind of make this game, that we spend like a live stream or I do a video where we kind of try and reverse engineer it and just sort of compare that to the source code, maybe like an optimized build. I think that might be kind of a fun thing to do. So I guess we'll see. Ghidra will be nothing like, the output will be nothing like what I wrote. Because one Ghidra outputs into like pseudo C and C++, so it's a little bit different anyway. And I think by the time you put this through an optimized build, like a modern optimized build, it will look very, very different. Or I worked at a place which was C++03, so I feel your pain. I was like, oh, I can't use lambdas or range-based for loops. I feel very lost. Okay, I've waffled a bit. Let's go auto vertex value const. I guess this should actually be vertex data and then data array to be in line with include vertex data, and then this will produce a vertex data and then auto vertex data vertex data array would give us std vector vertex data. What I might do as well actually is auto a little bit left wing data array view const std span const vertex data, right? Because I don't want to be copying the whole array out just to copy it in somewhere else, when ideally if I can just get a span over that data. Obviously this will be a non-owning view over it, so you have to be careful about lifetimes, but I think for what we're going to want to be doing, that's going to work. Yes, value. I go. I don't know if do I want view value or value view. I guess ultimately it doesn't make a difference. Auto. No, actually, no, because mesh data. Sorry, mesh value const. Oh, actually, hang on. Have we? What do I even return here? Because we don't want to return anything with OpenGL primitive. Oh, do I have mesh data? I've already got mesh data. Look at. Oh, interesting. Interesting. I forgot about the indices as well. I don't really like that being in mesh loader anymore. Source mesh data.h. I tend to keep definitions as close as possible to where they're needed. So if I'm only using mesh data in this file, or only in places where I also use mesh loader, then it makes sense to be there. As soon as I need mesh data without mesh loader, then it goes in its own file. That's kind of my rough approach. Like it's not perfect. Student include span hash include vertex data. Hash include mesh data. Okay. Right. So I think it's just kind of like a cautionary tale with TLV reader now. or I guess anything, is that this will be returning something which just contains span. So there's just a lifetime concern there. I'm not concerned, but like people should be concerned. Okay. So and then we can finally have auto isMesh string view name const full, so we can iterate through them quickly to find the mesh that we want. Should the enum be mesh data? Yes, I think you're probably right. I think you are probably right. I don't know, how are we thinking about that? What are we thinking? We happy? We sad? Okay. I'm gonna stream for a little bit longer because I really want to get this done. So let's keep going. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. I will fail with my Vim bindings for a little bit longer. A lot of this now becomes very similar to how we had the other types. So let's, what do we like the look of? This will do. Let's just include what we use. So we're going to want vertex data. We're going to want mesh data. We're going to want just that, I think. So where's when we return like a fixed size type? Here we go. This is what we want. We copy and pasted code last time and missed something, and it was fun to try and figure that out. So vertex data, size of vertex data, auto value equals vertex data. That's it. I do need a uint32 array, correct, for the indices. Yes, I do need uint32 array, correct. Okay. This is uint32. Might need to make some concessions at some point. Right. So where's the other array here? So this will be a uint32 array, and then this is technically undefined behavior because we're getting pointers to objects that the program didn't construct. It's okay with byte because that is anointed, but uint32 is technically not. Until we get start lifetime as well, let's just value dot size over size of std uint32t, and then std memcopy value.data. Source will be value data, and then we'll copy in value.size bytes. I think that's right. Yeah. Haramix is I was just going to make that point. Like, this is the kind of UB that everyone uses and relies on because basically everyone does it in their networking code. So if it broke, if it was really undefined, then everyone's program would just stop working. However, let's be good citizens. Also, I'll tell you, most compilers will recognize this paradigm and actually optimize it away and do the reinterpret cast for you under the hood, just in a well-defined manner. So it's kind of funny that the compiler's like, oh, this is undefined behavior, but if you go through these hoops, I'll actually do it the way you wanted me to do it, but make it defined. So, hey-ho, here we are. So that's fine, and then vertex, so we can just probably take this code and put that in here. This then becomes a vector of vertex data array over vertex data. That's fine. It's less about optimizing and it's more about intention. In this specific case, it's actually guilty knowledge that the memcopy gets optimized away. It's the fact that objects created from memcopy are valid objects. Yeah, anyway, we're kind of getting into the weeds a little bit there, but I guess that's kind of what we do here. Okay, so now mesh is a composite type. So basically want to take something like this and mesh data, read it, and then I'm going to say the first member has to be a string. Then it's going to be const auto mesh data. So it gets a little bit tricky now. So we'll advance that. I then want to so ensure reader cursor dot type equals TLV type vertex data array. So I'm going to do the vertex data, then I'm going to do the indices just because I've got to pick one, and I think that's the order they're in the mesh data. So second member not vertex data string. So then we can do const auto vertex data equals reader cursor dot what do I actually want here? I want to be able to get the data out. Not data. Yeah, thanks. Right. Okay, right. Let me talk to you about what I'm thinking about rather than just sort of staring at the screen. Do not do that. Okay. Mesh data takes a span. So this needs to point to other memory. The span is the data object here. Do I want to expose that? Also, it's of this type. Bytes, which means there's going to have to be a reinterpret cast somewhere, which is a bit of a shame. I will probably have to invoke a little bit of UB here just to keep the wheels spinning. Because what I'm saying is I could call vertex data array value, right? But then I would get a whole copy of that data, and the mesh data needs a span, so where would that live? The alternative is we change this to be vectors and mesh data owns it, but there must have been a reason we kept this as a non-owning. Why do we do that? What's happening in mesh loader? Is it cached? Is that what's... It's cached. That's why, because we said you might need to load the same. We want to load that. If we want to load that barrel multiple times, then you just go back and say, give me the barrel model. And if it's already loaded, then it pulls it from the cache. Do we want to now change the semantics of that such that because ultimately we're going to end up redefining this. So it's going to take in the TLV and the mesh name, and it's going to iterate through. All this crap is going to go over to the tool. It's going to pre-process it all and basically return us the mesh data as serialized. So this then just becomes TLV reader, mesh name, iterates through, finds it, job's a good one. Tricky. I assume this gets cached as well in here somewhere. Yeah. It's just a lot of copying of data around. Like the cube, which we use all the time, there only needs to be one cube resident in the graphics card, right? We shouldn't have to need to keep going around. Although I guess once you've uploaded to the graphics card, you can download it anyway. Anyway, I'm just working through what I think is the right choice here. What am I doing? I'm thinking very hard about ownership semantics and what I want to convey through an API, especially when it comes to serialization. So my choices are I expose. I think right, okay, I'm overthinking it. Let's keep it simple. Let's go back to TLB entry, right? And then we'll just do what we'll do is we'll go back to this view span, right? Oh, hang on, wait a minute. Am I being stupid? Am I being stupid? Am I? Yeah. I think I'm being stupid here. I think I might have all the parts already. Let me have a think. So mesh value is going to have. I think I've got all the data, right? This let me. Right, I've got a string. I've got the length, and then I've got. Why am I putting extra comments in here? Sorry. Right, I've got the string, the length, and then the actual mesh name. I've got a vertex data array. I've got a length, and then the actual vertex data, right? And that's all within this TLB entry encodes all that. So all I need to do to get a span is I just need to work out where this is, right? And I can just construct that. So I've said, look, the next thing is a vertex data array. That's fine. We're all kind of happy with that. I deleted all my code. Right. So now I want to get it's just value, isn't it? Like, why can I not? Like, I am a TLB entry. I have access to the private members. I can literally just take that data, right? I'll need to reinterpret cast it to to a vector, but I think I'm massively overthinking this. I think I literally can just out of this entry, which I know is a vertex data array, I can literally just get this. So actually, let's do span const vertex data reinterpret cast const vertex data star, right? And then dot data and then reader cursor dot value dot size. Right. And then I just do check that and then I advance the cursor, which now I have to say, right, is this a uint 32 array? Right. Third member, not a uint 32 array. And then index data equals span of stood uint 32t. Same again there. Nope. 32 reader cursor. Boom, 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 boom. And then I think I want to do this. I then move the cursor along one more time, check them at the end of it, and then I just return vertex data, index data, right? Sorry, that was a bit of a detour. That I was massing everything out. I think it's been a long day, and this, you know, it's quite heavy stuff. This. Yes, so I think Mesh Loader might need to have a little think about how it caches the data. It will probably need to construct a copy of it. We might need like a loaded store or something. But if we want to persist the data, right, in a cache, it's going to have to exist somewhere. The alternative is that we just don't cache it for loading from to start with. Like we just pass the TLV every time. I'd be okay with that as a kind of first pass, and then add the cache later. And then here, yeah, it's a good point. So check that we have a mesh data for the reader, and then mesh name equals string value. So this just partially reads this, gets the first name, which is the string, then checks if that equals it, and then returns it. Okay, right. Right, now we just need to do so the span of const that. I'm going to write the array, and then we need to write auto write vertex data hash include mesh data, right? And then we're going to write a const auto. No, what am I doing? Auto vertex data value void and then stud span of vertex data, and then finally auto, let's put this under here, auto write stud string view name stud span of const vertex data vertices stud span of stud uint 32t indices void. Make that const. Okay. TLV stands for type length value. It's just a way of encoding data. So you can think of every value that we want to have as an 8-byte header, 4 bytes for the type, 4 bytes for the length, and then n bytes for the data. It's just a simple binary encoding, really. It's nothing too fancy. It's good enough for our purposes, though. It's been no end of problems. Actually, no, it's not been too bad to implement. We've hit a few interesting things along the way. Okay, right, so how do I write an array? I want to basically nick this. And this is a unit 32 array. Const. Alright, I'll make sure I get this right now. So the length is that. The value that's wrong. No, that's wrong. What am I doing? Right, hang on. Stop. The type is unit 32 array. The length is the size. Where's all my code gone? The length is the size times size of. That was a bug waiting to happen. And then we reinterpret bytes and we shove it in there, and then our write entry puts the type, puts the length, sticks all the bytes in. Okay, fine. Okay, that's easy. And then we had texture usage. And then we'll have these here. Right, okay, so now we're going to write the vertex data. So where do we write something? Here we go, let's write this. So this is a vertex data. Size of the value, I think this is all pretty much the same, that's fine. And then for the array, we'll take, oh, actually we might as well take the one where we know we have to be careful of the size. This. And then this will be vertex data array times size of vertex data. That will stay the same. And then finally we have this one, which is not too bad. TLV writer. And this will be, we'll take a writer. We'll do write name. Write vertices. Oh my goodness, it's getting late and my typing is even worse than normal. Indices. And then I think this here is like that's what we want. Stick that in there. Right. And then this becomes a mesh data. Right. Whew. I think that's right. Let's just check that. Builds. Yeah, we'll probably throw compression on this at some point, but that's like a nice to have. It doesn't really get us anywhere at the moment. Right, close, getting close. Okay. Mesh loader. Main. So we go through everything in the file system. If it's an image, then we handle it. Else if ext is equal to obj. Only going to worry about obj for the moment. Dot obj. It's not where I want that code to go. Right, if it's an object, then we're going to load that object file, find all the submeshes within it, and encode them all with their name, and then we should be able to pull those out. Ooh, raid with 37 people. Hello, thanks for coming along. We're making progress. We're fast approaching loading files. Welcome everyone who's just joined. Yeah, we're making a game from scratch, or as much from scratch as possible. That's led us down the path of creating custom file formats so we can easily load all of our assets. So we're just we're writing a tool to load object files, grab the vertex and index data, pack them into a binary format, and then the game can load them. Okay, right, so the mesh loader here, I think I see what you're saying now, and if this is going to turn a non-owning mesh data, what's that going to be a span into? I think the answer is I don't really know. Cross that bridge when we get to it. Right, let's get rid of all this stuff. So 168. Let's be aggressive. Take all that out. So this is going to be a little bit gross. I will refactor this at some point in the future. This should be a separate function or a class or something, not just slapped into an if statement. But for the moment, it's okay. Okay. I don't need all these log statements as well. This is some failed debugging. This will go through all the mesh in the loaded meshes. I think we just want read file now, don't we? And do .cstra. Read file. Here's read file with file and flags. Oh, I guess I don't need that. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's pretty heavy, this. Fails load model. Okay, right, we're getting there. We're definitely not going to have time to integrate this into CMake tonight, but that's fine. I'm hoping we can at least just get things loading. So we're not doing any of the caching, so that's fine. Game, I need to include that. Vector 3, okay. And then what? Hash include mesh data. Hash include vertex data. Okay, right. Let's see where we're at with errors. That's going to be game. There's be a lot of these missing. Then format it on ensure line 107 you are correct. Okay, right. So we pass the scene, we check reload it, we get a view over the asimps internal gubbins of meshes. We go through all those, we convert that to that, we convert all the bits we need to that, and then at the bottom we end up with, oh, don't I need to do this? Don't I need to use the zip thing? Mesh loader. I need to use this template shenanigans, right? To zip them all together into vertex data. Think. I'm just gonna duplicate that code. It's not ideal, but you know, it'll get us where we need to go. So at the end of here, const auto vertices equals zip transform. In fact, actually, we need less of this now because I think we can just do positions, normals, UVs, tangents. Right? Is that right? Position, normal, tangents, UVs. Okay, positional tangents, UVs. pass that along to this, we so before we hid this behind a template, but I'm just being explicit here. And I'm just saying zip transform, here's the transform, here's the things you need to zip together, they should all be the same length, bung that into a vector. And now we can write out, we can do writer dot write. We're going to call this. We get a name, don't we? How did the old resource loader how did the old mesh loader do it before I deleted all the code? Have I got a name already? Okay. I don't have a name, but can I? Is there a mesh m name? That'll do. That'll do. And then I'm going to write the vertices. I'm going to write the indices. And then... Oh, isn't this like a weird async string? Dot cstra. There you go. Nailed it. Okay, because I want the individual mesh name because I want to encode them all rather than I don't want the name of the because the object file will contain multiple meshes, so I don't want to encode the object name. I want to encode the mesh name. Okay. To avoid the I think I might move away from mesh loader into as a concept and instead do what we did with texture and have that take the reader and the name, right? And then the mesh, then I don't know about ownerships or whatever, and you know, if you need to pull it out again, you just repass the TLV, it won't take that long. So I think that might be what I want. Oh, I got wrong. Following warning streams and error. Oh, hang on. Because size of returns a size t. So I cast this to a uint32t, multiplied it by a size of, which is a size t, and then that promoted the whole type because the auto type return to that. That's why that is. Obviously, whereas if you just make the cast go around the whole thing, then it behaves as you would expect. Span does have span does have size bytes. I always forget that. That's a good point. I'm here now, but yeah, that's a good point. We could have just used that. Probably should have just used that. Yeah. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, so that built. So let's see if we can pack our resources. Should have put some actually. Oh. I'll put some logging in just super quick. So game info tracking, and then this will be mesh name.cstra. This will take a while to pack because of all the weird WSL shenanigans. So whilst that's doing it, we will start refactoring the mesh class, and then hopefully it will just work. We'll get some barrels, we'll get some lights, and we can call it a day. Oh, the number of viewers on Twitch is very close to the number of viewers on YouTube. YouTube is the more popular platform at the moment, but the numbers are very close. I feel like it didn't... Okay, no, it did find them all. Okay. Oh, it's packing a lot of stuff in there. It's packing everything in there. That's fine. Okay, we'll leave that to run. No, my current job is not streamer. I am a professional software engineer. My main role is actually, I spend a large part of my time teaching and mentoring our junior talent, interns, graduates, that kind of thing, which is what I really enjoy doing. So I get to spend a lot of time basically kind of doing what I'm doing now, talking about C++ and going through some of the more interesting nuances of the language. Okay, mesh. I think it's easier if we just do this. So class TLV reader, right, and then we're going to create another mesh. I think what we probably should just have is, rather than having a mesh loader, because what the mesh loader does is it allows us to easily create cubes and sprites. There might be other fixed things we need to create in the future, like spheres and stuff. So those could probably just be like, that's basically just factory method, and we could probably just statically load those and not worry about it and remove that whole cache nonsense. I use whatever language is needed, right? It's the right tool for the right job. I've done professionally Python, C#, TypeScript, C++. I, as a personal indulgence, just enjoy C++, so that's what I tend to use, and it also helps me solve the kind of problems that I enjoy doing, which is low-level stuff. So that's why I kind of stream a lot of C++. How do we do it with text? What was the order? It was reader, stream view name. Don't include that. Hash include string view. Okay, right, don't need that. Const TLV reader. Getting bored of writing this. Stirred string view name. Okay. Oh, what? Did I... Okay, right. Ooh, so... Okay. We'll only abuse this slightly, like we did with I can't remember what it was. The texture. Okay, so now we can include the TLV reader. Don't need mesh loader. Sure has written something. It's exciting. We'll do a poll at the end. Where people on Twitch gamble away their fake monies on whether we think this is just going to work first time. Okay, so now I've got the reader. I want to do very much what I did with the texture, which was mesh data equals find is mesh name, could not find mesh, and then do auto mesh equals mesh data dot mesh value desk mesh, and then we'll just swap whatever the whatever we need to swap. So that is VAO with mesh dot VAO, and then let's go VAO VBO index count, and then index offset. Make sure these are all properly 0 initialized. Okay, I'm just setting up, what I'm doing is I'm just setting up like an empty mesh, which is easy to destruct. Oh, do I have to allocate that buffer? Can I not have an empty buffer? Right, I'll just allocate a 0 size buffer, it's not the end of the world. And then I'll construct it using the other constructor, and then I'll swap all the stuff out, which means what's this temporary here is basically hollowed out, left in some, I don't know, valid but unknown state. It'll be safely destructed away, and then we'll all go about our day. Okay. I really know how to use ensure in here yet. Exciting. Let's bring you in. Why are you being funny? Oh, did I bring Erno in? Yeah. Wrong header, indeed. Sometimes you just have those days where they're all the wrong headers. Okay, right. Main. We're all the wrong header. Right. Mesh equals game mesh CT, comma. Sometimes I like to just speak out the Vim shortcuts I do. TL, is it just reader metal barrel mesh 05. The idea that now, like nearly 20 streams in, someone only realizes I use Vim. I think that is quite funny. I mean, I know you're joking, but that would be a funny outcome. Okay, right. As always, when we get to the end, near the end of the stream, we have to have a vote on whether we think it all is just going to work for it first time. So let me set that up quick. Engage with your audience. Start a poll. Will just work? Yes. No. And we'll just look. Yes. No. So the poll will last as long as the whatever Twitch prediction thing is. I'd just like to see what the measure of confidence people have in me is. Right. End poll. 100% yes on Twitch. 80% on YouTube. Right. I need to move the resources. I must admit, it doesn't look a lot bigger than the when we had the textures. Is it only 5 meg of model data? I guess 5 meg maybe. Okay, anyway. Let's move that to there. I'll just check that's what I called it. Resources. Right. I immediately died. Okay. Incorrect type. Incorrect type. TLV entry 126. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's... It's no longer... There's... Because I was basically asserting that if you're like, hey, is this thing a texture? I'd be like, I will assert, I will throw an exception if it's not. Whereas if you're trying to query stuff, that's not great. It's only because we've only had textures in it to this point. I'm gonna be a little bit lenient. Okay. I'm happy to say that was an oversight, and we'll see if the if it still holds true. That could happen to anyone. Yeah, I've updated his mesh as well. Right, okay. Come on. Okay. It's not over yet. It's not over yet. He actually got to... Does he not like creating a 0-byte buffer? Yeah, okay, fine. I'll be a little bit lenient on that one. That could have happened to anyone. Yeah. What the prediction should have been is, have we correctly packed in a mesh into the TLV? Not have we correctly refactored, because clearly we have not correctly refactored. Yeah. Well, there we go. Ah. And also, that loaded pretty fast. I'm feeling generous, and I think everyone voted yes on the thing anyway. So choose outcome. Yes, there you go. You can all win fake points. Yeah, that was insanely fast compared to it. Right. Hang on, where's my fancy transition? Okay, so where we're at now. Oh, you win. Oh, you only win the thing that the other. I guess that is how gambling works. Someone has to lose. I thought it just paid out some function of like some multiplier of whatever you put in if you got it right. Anyway, I don't. As I will continue to say, I don't fully understand Twitch. However, it seems pretty cool, and I like hanging out with you guys on Twitch and on YouTube. Right, so after what was going to be a quick stream of we'll just take some data and we'll slap it into a binary format and we'll load it. Four streams later, we've taken some binary data, slapped it. We've taken some data, slapped it into a binary file, and read from it. So I'm gonna put a pin in that. Well, obviously I'll comment it all up and tag it and everything. I'll do that tomorrow, I imagine. Yeah, I'm not too worried about the shaders because it was the whole point of that was the speed at which it was loading, and I wanted to fix that. Everything else is just like adding the shaders into it doesn't actually get us any closer to the game at this point. That'll be like a housekeeping task towards the end when we're like, right, we now need to properly package everything up. So next stream, I really want to add a physics engine. I really want to get these barrels kind of like rolling around, add a little character controller around us. Little capsule, so maybe push some stuff around, push it off an edge. The big question is what physics engine, because I only really want to add one, as you can imagine. Doesn't seem a lot of point having multiple ones. We'll do a thin abstraction around it, so it'll be whatever engine it is. We'll have our own rigid body class and our own physics world class and that kind of thing. So it would be not too impossible to switch it out in the future. However, I'm kind of going down the path of let's only write what we need. So I'm not going to have like a really in-depth abstraction that easily allows you to swap out different engines. I have used Bullet before and have some experience with it, so that is an option. I'm not writing so I have written a physics engine before from scratch. I got cube collisions working really nicely with all the integrations and everything, friction, and it was so much code for just boxes. And I was like, oh, if I want to add a capsule now, this is even more code. So I have done it before, and I'm not going to do it again. I will definitely reach for something off the shelf. I have experience with Bullet. I think Bullet's a little bit dated now. Like, is it still being up? Is it people still bulleting? Yeah, last day we released was 2. Yeah, so I'm thinking of so it's either Bullet or I might challenge myself and use something new and use Jolt, because Jolt seems pretty cool. Was using Horizon, so you know it's battle tested, it's deterministic, it's multi-core friendly. So yeah, I might, it's got box capsule. I think it's got its own character controller built in, or at least like character. Here we go. Character base test. So it's got a load of examples of how to do stuff. What license is it? That's a good point. It's the MIT license, so that's pretty cool. It probably means we'll have to write our own quaternion class, because we're going to want to have our own engine version, which we convert from to do orientation. So that's going to be fun. So I'm thinking, challenge myself, challenge ourselves, try Jolt, or just use Bullet. I don't know. You'll have to come along on Sunday to find out what physics engine it's going to be, because that's when we'll do it next. But that's fine. It should be good. We have some actual different type of programming. We've done a lot of low-level binary bit shifting kind of stuff, serialization, which has been good fun. I'm now ready for a bit of a palette cleanser with something a bit more graphical, something a bit more interactive. And then I think like once we've got physics, because we've got shaders, we've got model loading, we've got texture loading, we've got normal maps, we've got specular maps, we've got arbitrary lights, although they're only point lights, and it's not the most efficient. We'll have physics. We will literally be running out of excuses to not start making a game. So yeah, I think that's where we'll see where we're at. I think we'll have enough stuff then, because then all the other stuff, which is kind of like is gold plating, right? Because I want to do shadows. Maybe I hate doing shadows, but I'll do shadows, SSAO, FXA, FXAA, anti-aliasing, all that kind of stuff is just like chuff. It's gold plating. Physics is probably the last thing we actually need to start having some interactive gameplay. I think we're just going to jump straight in when the time comes, because I've got a rough idea of like a puzzle game. I'm not going to say too many details now because I'm still sort of remunerating. I'm still thinking on it, cogitating, if you will, about a little puzzle game which involves some interesting like movement mechanics, which we'll need a physics engine for. So I think we'll start building out like little test levels which have different mechanics, and then we'll just see if it's fun and start combining them. That's kind of my plan. It's going to be a handful of levels at the end of it, not a lot of plot. In other news, well, yeah, if it's a puzzle game using a 3D gizmo to navigate an endless world of floating barrels, we're basically there. Like, woo! Where'd it go? Look at that light go. I think I've got another light somewhere. There we go. Anyway, in other news, hopefully new video tomorrow. If you are a YouTube member, then you already have access to it, and you've hopefully already seen it. If not, and you are a member, then you should go watch it. It was a lot of effort. It was really complex. It was good fun, but it really broke me at the end. It was really complex. Has a satisfying ending, which I do get some feedback sometimes that the videos don't always have a satisfying ending. This has a very satisfying ending. It was very satisfying for myself anyway. So that's tomorrow. I don't know how much everyone is sort of into the YouTube meta, but a thumbnail is unfortunately more important than the video. It doesn't really matter how good the video is. If you've got a shite thumbnail, no one's going to watch it. I'm not that happy with the thumbnail at the moment, so I need to spend a bit of time tweaking that, because I don't want all that effort to go to waste because of a shite thumbnail. So a few people have seen it. Positive messages here. That's great. So yeah, I'm going to tweak that tomorrow. I should. I mean, if you're really into the YouTube meta, then you really ideally need 2 or 3 thumbnails, and you kind of swap them out as you watch the metrics to kind of see which is resonating with people. So I really should try and come up with a couple others. Anyway, I'm waffling a bit. New video tomorrow, hopefully, if I get time to finish off the thumbnail. Otherwise, Friday. Or if you want to watch it now, then. And you can, and you wish to, then YouTube channel membership. This has been a good stream. I've enjoyed this. Thank you very much for coming along and keeping me company as I bash my way through, finally, the end, for now, of serialization. I'm looking forward to doing the next one. It's going to be fun. And I will catch you all on Sunday. Thanks very much for coming along.